Okay. And okay. There's a koyach Dr. Stein for yesterday and for tomorrow and Sunday.
And so am I right for the future? Wait till it happens.
Okay, where exactly did you leave off?
The top of B, whatever page we're on.
By which part is it?
Well, you ended 68A. Where'd you end up? Or 69A? Where did you finish?
Okay, I'll go over the end of the Gemara, that piece, and then.
Well, so do you remember where we're up to?
I think we're drafting it.
69B at the top. Yeah, top of 69B.
Island, okay.
Yeah.
Thank Hashem. We're able to learn Torah every day. That's for learning. We should have the base of English immediately. Learning Lili Nishmas, the terms of the Mitzian, and for Shleima for everyone that needs for Shleima. Okay. Let's go back for a second. What did we learn over here? Rab Kruspadai said that the entire time of a Ben Sarah, or the whole window of what a Ben Sarah murder can be is 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Then we said that 1 second, because it could be that, why is that? Because he can't be considered a father. He can't be someone that's eligible to be a father. And since he would be able to make someone pregnant after he's 13, and the pregnancy would be recognizable after 3 months, then he would already be able to be considered a father. The Gemara says 1 second. But let's say she conceives a child that would give birth after 7 months. It says, this is a proof from this that even if you conceive a child, if it's a gestation period of 7 months, but a third of that, which is the amount of time it takes for the child to be recognizable, like a little bulge in the stomach, so that's still going to be 3 months, because otherwise we would have to say that it's going to be what's a third of 7?
2 1/3.
2 1/3. Otherwise, we would say that it's the gestation. It should the window of the Ben Sarah should only be 2 1/3. He said, no. We're going to follow the majority. This is a what's it called? Case, a capital case. We follow the majority. So we don't follow the majority by capital cases. We bring a proof from that we have a capital case where someone lives with a girl that's 3 years old if she was married already. But if she's an islandess,
no, she might
be an island. She might be really an islandess. He doesn't know. That means that the entire marriage was really not a marriage. And so now you're telling me that there's a capital punishment here. But he doesn't. Must be we follow the majority that since the majority is not an islandess. So you see, by capital cases you follow the majority. If you follow the majority by capital cases, then you lose the proof that someone that gives birth a gestation period of 7 months is really going to be a 3 month time until it takes to recognize because it could be that the 3 months really comes from the majority, not from that specific case. Anyway, the Gemara says.
You weren't very bogus.
Oh yeah, I learned all of this from Dr. Stein's share yesterday. Now, where are we holding? Like 2-3 lines in. The Gemara starts off, I'll start from the top. Maybe this girl is really an islandess. Islandess means that she'll never become sexually mature, right? She's always going to have, she won't be able to conceive. And now if that's the case, then maybe this whole marriage was a mekachtos. He never married her with that intent, and therefore the whole marriage is off. Therefore, she's not considered a married woman, which would affect someone that has relations with her. He never had that in mind when he married her, right? It's called a mekachtos. It's a mistaken purchase. It must be it must be that we follow the majority. Brave nashim lav islandess. See, we follow the majority. The Gemara says, maybe not. My chayav alediktani. Maybe when it comes to capital cases, maybe you're right. What are we talking about here? Carbon. Here we're talking about only that he brings a sacrifice. It says v'mumsin al yada. What you can't say that. It says clearly in the brisa that we quoted, where all of this came from. It says that people are put to death because of her. Obviously, it is a capital case. It says, yeah, that's bibala avia. That's because, not because she's married. That's because her relations is considered a relations. And if her father lives with her, then he'll be put to death. But not because the marriage is good. The marriage, she gets married, we say maybe she's going to be an islandess. We can't put the person to death as an adultery because maybe that marriage was really nothing. But as a daughter, she's still a daughter, and she would be someone would be put to death, the father, because he lived with his daughter. Just 1 second. That's an answer. But it says any of the forbidden marriages, which would include also adultery, would be put to death. Okay, so we have a teretz. The answer is that he says, even if you are an islandess, I'm still accepting that possibility, and I'm making this a marriage. If he doesn't say that, then we would say you're right. Maybe it's not a marriage because we have to wait and see until she reaches maturity to see if she matures. But he's saying that he's marrying her even with that intention. Okay, so what is this? Where does this leave us? That comes out is really, we can't prove from this that you follow the majority. Can't prove this that you follow the majority because over here he actually accepted on himself this. If you can't prove that you follow the majority by capital cases, then that would take us back to a proof that the 3 months is enough to recognize even a 7-month gestation period. 3 months of a pregnancy, even on a 7-month, now that it would take 3 months on a 7-month pregnancy to recognize. That's why the Ben Saira Meira has a full 3 months. Tanu Rabbanan was taught in a brayso, if someone is acting lewdly with her young son, Beheraba, and they end up that he has the initial part of the relations with her. Must be they're not dressed in the same bed. And so what happens now? Bishame says that if this mother ends up becoming a widow, she could really marry a Kohen. She can't now because she just had relations with someone that was prohibited to her, which even though it's just the initial, it was just Hera. But nevertheless, that makes her into a Zaina. A Zaina is usher to marry a Kohen. It's prohibited to marry a Kohen. So she's been defiled. She can't marry a Kohen. Bisil Machshir, Bisil says no. She still can marry a Kohen. Well, how'd that happen? Let's see. Amar Rav Chia Breder Rabba Bar Nachmani Amar Rav Chisda. Well, this is a Rav Chia, son of Rabba Bar Nachmani. It says in the name of Rav Chisda. Amar Rav Chisda Amar Ziri. Some say it was Rav Chisda's name of Ziri. Hakol Maidim. Everyone holds that if a boy is 9 years old, his relations is the act of relations is considered an act of relations. It's considered real. But if he's less than 8, then that's considered nothing. It's just a child, doesn't count. The machlokes Beisham and Bisil is only in between 8 and 9. That age between 8 and 9. Now, what is 9? 9 means when we say 9 years old, do we mean actually 9 or do we mean 8? And when we say 8, do we mean actually 8? Do we mean 7? I don't know.
Oh,
That's a little confusing, right? I know by bar mitzvah when we say 13, we don't mean 12, we mean 13. But but there's other things, like for example, when it says 18 years is to get married, the Rambam writes it really means 17. Because the 18th year, because you don't start from 1, you start from 0. So
Over here, we've been very careful about counting everything.
yeah,
I think 9 means 9 years.
9 means 9. Dr. Stein says 9 means 9.
Especially the rest of the Gemara.
That's not the Yiddish. No means no. 9 means 9.
Especially the Gemara is now when it comes to 8-year-olds. Is specifically counting numbers.
Right.
I had to prepare ahead just in case.
Ah, very nice. So we have very good. We have machlekes. Beisham and Beisilel, if a boy that's 8 years old could have is considered relations. The Beishamai Savri, Beishamai holds Gamlina Midaris Rishonim, that we have this in history. If that's the case, we have this. That, in other words, in history, we have that an 8-year-old boy made the father to the child. That we have in history. Beisilel Savri, like Gamlina Midaris Rishonim. Beisilel says, what you see in history, that's for the history books. That's not the newspaper. That's just way back then. Things were different. How do we know that this happened in history? Maybe we have a source like this. It says, bas Eliam, this is Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, who was the wife of Uriachid. This is talking about when David marries, takes Bathsheba. Well, who's Bathsheba's father? His name is Eliam. We also have that Eliam is the son of Achitophel. Okay, so now I have 3 generations here. I have Bathsheba, Eliam, and Achitophel. Uksiv, and they have another pasuk that says, and this is talking about the birth of Shlomo, and his name is Yedidya. He had another name, Yedidya. And why was he called that? Because Hashem, he's beloved to Hashem, right? You did ka. Uksiv, and we have another pasuk that says, it's after 2 years, and they're sharing the wool for Avshalom. Uksiv, Avshalom barach v'yelech geshura. Avshalom runs away. Why did Avshalom run away?
He killed his half-brother.
He killed Amnon. What happened was, Amnon lived with Tamar. Then and then Avshalom was upset about that. He kills Amnon. Vayihi sham shalishanim, and he's there for 3 years in Geshura. This is talking about Avshalom. Avshalom was in Yerushalayim for 2 years, doesn't see the king. And it was after 40 years. The Gemara says that this 40 years was 40 years from when 40 years when they asked for a king. That's how the Gemara learns that. Remember, they asked for a king from before Shaul. They asked Shmuel for a king 40 years from now. Uksiv, and it's written, Achitophel ra kilei nasa atzas v'yachas es hachamar v'yakam v'yelech el beisei el ira v'yetzav es beisei v'yechanek. What happened was over here that Avshalom is making a rebellion against David. He's taking over. He wants to take over the kingdom. David has to run away. Achitophel, who was an advisor to David, switches sides and goes to Avshalom. Then there was a person by what was his name? The person, one second. Let me see if it says over here. There was another advisor to Danielan. There's another advisor to David that switched sides, but it was really a secret agent for David. No, he was a secret agent for David. And when Achitophel gave advice to Avshalom that don't worry about David's army. We're not going for the army. We're not going for any of them. We're just going for David himself. We're just going to get. Which that was good advice for the other side. So this guy, I forget his name, with the Ches, he tells, he was also an advisor to Avshalom, but he was a secret agent. He says, no, you have to wait, wipe out the whole army. You have to wait to get it. So you have to wait till we gather all the troops and we have to get everyone. We can't do this right away. Basically postponed it. Achitophel was not good at being Kushiel, very good. Yeah, Kushiel. So he was the secret agent. Thank you. And then, so what happened was, Achitophel ends up killing himself. He wasn't good at taking a loss. Yeah, that wasn't his. So, how long does Achitophel live? What we're basically going to do is we're going to figure out Achitophel's life. Then we're going to figure out how old he was when he had Eliam and when Eliam had Bathsheba. So we're going to figure out that a person can have a child from 8 years. So let's take a look. It goes like this. Men of blood and deceit, they don't live out half their life. Tanya was taught in a brisa. All of Dayig's years is only 34 years. So a person should really live 70 years. But Dayig was a man of blood. I'm sorry? Bloodshed. So it's only 34 instead of 35. That would be half of 70. Achitophel, whose deceit was only 33. Okay. So Achitophel only lives 33 years. Kama habitlu. When okay. So it's 33 years. His whole life is 33 years. Dal Sheva Davi Shlomo. We know that Achitophel died. Okay, this is Achitophel dies when Shlomo is 7 years old. Now, the way we got this was because after 2 years after Shlomo was born, then Avshalom kills Amnon. After another 2 years, after 3 years, then Avshalom runs to Geshura. For 2 years, remember, he's in Yerushalayim. And about that time, Achitophel dies. So you have 7 years there. So you minus Dal Sheva Havi Shlomo. Shlomo is 7 years old at the death of Achitophel. So how much is left? 33 minus 7. Pashlu Esan Vishish. We have 26. 26, yeah, 26. Dal Tartishnin Litlasi Buri. Okay, now, one sec. We have 3 generations here. So 26 into 3 generations would be that each generation took 8 years. Now, assuming that now we have a pregnancy would be, if it's, let's say, a pregnancy that's like 8 months, about an 8-month pregnancy, that would give me 2 years for each pregnancy, right? So each one was 8 years old to conceive, and then you have to wait for the pregnancy. So the pregnancy would be one pregnancy, 8, 16, 24 months, it's 2 years, right? So it's 24 is three the ages, and then plus 2 is 26. So what are the 3 generations? Achitophel, Eliam, and Bathsheba. Obviously, Achitophel was 8 when he had Eliam, and Eliam was 8 when he had Bathsheba. That's our precedent that this happened. Mimai, the Gemara says, how do you know? Maybe they were both 9 years old. Bathsheba and Bathsheba had Shlomo when she was 6 years old. Now, this we didn't discuss. We were only discussing how old a man is when he has a child. We said 8 when he can father a child. We didn't discuss how old a mother could be. So she could be 6. It's a bari because women are much healthier. They're more precocious. They could have children when they're younger.
By the way, I looked up in 1939, the earliest document pregnancy. It goes back to 1939, was a woman 7.5 years old.
7.5 in 1939 was a birth
not that
of
long ago,
yeah,
compared to the time of
right.
Pretty wild.
Okay. Gemara says, "Mimai, how do you know this?" Okay. It's just Mishum Ditzabari the Gateda. I'll prove it to you. The Havel of Vladimir Kar. You missed out one point. Bathsheba had a child from that first relations with David that died. And remember, David mourned for it for whatever the mourning took place, and Bathsheba mourned. Then they got up and he came back to live with Bathsheba after that morning, and then she conceived again and had Shlomo. So which means that there was a child before, and there was a pregnancy beforehand. So obviously we're not talking about 8. Okay. Elamehacha, we're going to need another source for this. Where do we see that someone gave birth at when someone fathered a child when they were 8 years old? Elamehacha. Ela told us Terach. These are the offspring of Terach. Terach is Abram, es Nachar, Vesaran. Terach has three sons. Abram, Nachar, and Haran. Abram gadol mi Nachar, Shana. Nachar gadol mi Haran, Shana. Nimtza Abram gadol shtei Shana mi Haran. Okay, if there's three sons and Abram is the oldest, then he is probably a year older, right? Because we would need a pregnancy there. He'll be a year older than Nachar, and Nachar is a year older than Haran. So Abram is 2 years older than Haran. Now, and it's and Avram and Nachar take wives. Amrab Yitzchak, and okay, now it says who are the wives that they take? Well, Nachar takes Milcah, the daughter of Haran, and Avram takes Yiska, the daughter of Haran. Amrab Yitzchak, Yiska Zushma, V'lamanaka Shma Yiska, Yiska Zusara. Sorry, Yiska Sarah, V'lamanaka Shma Yiska. Why is she called Yiska? Sheseicha Baruch HaKodesh. How they translate Seicha? It's covered. Oh, she gazed. She gazed with Ruach HaKodesh. Okay. That's why it says everything that Sarah says to you, Hashem tells Avram to listen to her, because she has the Holy Divine Spirit. Another pshat, Yiska shakal sachin b'yoifya. Why is she called Yiska? Because everyone would look at her beauty. And it says, how could I have a child? My husband is old. It's Kamakash is Avram Yisara. How much older is Avram than Sarah? Yes, Shanim. Avram is 10 years older than Sarah. How'd that happen? He marries Sarah
because his brother,
he's older than Nachar. And he's older than Nachar is older than Haran, which means he's 2 years older. That means that Haran already has a child at age 8, because Sarah, who's Haran's daughter, is only 10 years older than Avram. And Avram is 2 years. It's 10 years younger than Avram, and Avram is 2 years older than the father. Yeah, to become 10 years older, the way that happens is only because he had a child at age 8. Haran was 8 years old. Where says Mimai? How do you know that? Maybe Avram was younger. So why did it say that Terach gave birth to Avram, Nachar, and Haran? It should have said he gave birth to Haran, Nachar, and Avram. The Gemara answers, because it wasn't saying their age, it was saying their wisdom. Avram was the brightest. Does it do that? Take the I'll prove it to you. That this is the Gemara, that the Psukim do this. They don't always list the chronological age. They could list by the brightest, the most precocious. The Ksir, we have another verse. It says, V'inayach ben chamish me'eshana v'yelid Nayach Hashem escham v'yafet. It says that Nayach was 500 years old when he has Shem, Cham, and Yafes. That means 500 at Shem. Cham is going to be 501, and Yafes is going to be 502, right? Is that the way it works? Or is it? Or
no, they were old.
No, I don't think so. No. Shem Gadol Micham.
Right, you didn't there in 8 years.
Shem wasn't the oldest. It was by...
One second. It's listed. It lists Shem as the oldest. One second. Spoiler alert. Okay. Shem Gadol Micham. Shana. Shem is older than Cham 1 year. Cham Gadol Miyafes. Shana. Cham is older than Yafes 1 year. Nimtza Shem Gadol Miyafes stay Shanim. Obviously, Shem is older than Yafes 2 years. Uksiv, and we have another passage. It says, "Nayach ben sheish mea shana, 100 years later, there's a flood, right? He has must be no. He had all 3 children when he was 500 years old. He had fathered all 3 children when he was 500. So at the time of the flood, Shem is already 102. It's only Yafes that's 100. Uksiv, and it's we have a verse that says, "El tol Shem." These are the offspring of Shem. Shem b'mas shana v'el desapachshet shenasayim acharmal. Shem is 100 years old when he gives birth to Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. Now, this is 1 second. 2 years after the flood, would not make him. But Meya Shana, he's only 100 years old. He should be 102, according to what we said. That at the time, at when Noach was 500, he had all 3 children. That means it was 498 when he had Shem. So why is he only 100? Why is Shem only 100 years after the flood? 100 years old after the flood. He should be 102 after 100 years after the flood. So the way we'll do this is we'll say that Shem is not the oldest. Shem is just the smartest. So you see, really, Yefes is the oldest. Let's say we don't right now here we don't have who's the oldest. We just know that Shem is the youngest. Rav Kana says, I said this over to Rav Zvid from Nardai. Okay. Amar Li says, that's where you learned it from. We have another source for this. It says, Yulad Damhu Avi Kol B'nei Ever Achi Yefes Hagadol. We have a verse. It says that Shem also gave birth. He's the father of all the sons of all the people of Aver. The brother, and now it goes back to describe Shem. He's the brother of the big Yefes. That means Yefes is the oldest. Yefes, Hagal Shabachu, Yefes was the oldest. That's the source. Elaminalan, so you're back to our original question. So if the Torah doesn't list according to the chronological order, lists with other orders, then what is our source that a person can have a child at 8 years old, and then we have machlekes, Beishama and Beisilal, if that can happen today. So we have another source. It says Bitzal ben Uri ben Cholamati Yehuda, talking about the construction of the Mishkan, how appropriate, right? This is Bitzalel. He's the son of Uri, he's the son of Chur. To the tribe of Yehuda. Now we know who's Chur's father. Kalev. Kalev marries Miriam. And fathers Chur, who fathers Uri, who fathers Bitzalel. When Bitzalel makes the Mishkan, how old is he? He's 13 years old. How do we know that? Each man, the work that he does, and a man means that he's 13. Bitanya, we have another brayso that says, Shana Rishayna Moshe Mishkan, Shniya Hekem Esa Mishkan, Shilach Meraglim. The first year in the desert, Moshe makes the Mishkan. The second year, he sends the spies. Okay. Uksiv ben Arbaim Shana Nechi B'Shleich Moshe Eved, Hashem, the gamer. Kalev tells Yeshua that I was 40 years old when Moshe sent me. He's 40 years old, and he already has a 13-year-old great-grandson at the age 40. No, he has a 14-year-old great-grandson. Because the Bitzalel was 13 at the making of the Mishkan. This is a year later. So Bitzalel is 14 now when his great-grandfather is 40. Please excuse Moshe, right? His grandmother had a baby. He had to watch his aunts and uncles, right? So the pasuk finishes. This is when they're dividing the land. He says, "I'm now 85 years old." This is when they're already in Israel. How old was he? 40. Subtract 14 from 40. I have 26 years left. 26 years left. 26 years means three births, 8 years it takes for each 3 generations. 8 years for each generation, plus 2 pregnancies, plus 2 years for 3 pregnancies. 8 plus 8 plus 8 was 24 months. This is our source. That years ago they had children at 8 years old.
Could you remind me of the connection of this to the discussion about the Ben Sorah or Morah?
That's a good question.
Because we were talking the whole thing went back to crispy.
Crispy died.
I
So
couldn't
he's
hear any.
3
I'll
month
tell you in a second.
periods, and then we start questioning, well, what if he got someone pregnant, and therefore he got her pregnant before age 13, and she didn't show up till later on, and then it was questioning that whole 3 months only. And then,
Yeah.
so the question was, well, how early can they get someone pregnant? And we know for 9, and then we gave historically from there. Kind of that was part of the discussion.
Yeah, we got into this because we were saying what Dr. Stein is saying is we got into this because we were talking about a Ben Seir Meira needs to be a Ben and not a father. And then we started discussing at what age could a person become a father, and yeah, and that's now we're saying, yeah,
Yeah, but at the end, it's only from 13 to 13 and 3 months.
we said over there that he was that a person could actually father beforehand, but we're talking about Ben Ish, a man that he's Ben Ish or something. We had this discussion that once he's a man and he's still a son, right? Only when he's 13. He has to be 13. Well, he would need to be 13 to have this.
Right.
That's what we said. But
Naftali, watch yesterday's video. It was put on 5 hours ago.
So thank you. I guess in some ways it could be at any earlier age, but the mitzvahs aren't incumbent upon him until 13.
right.
So that's how you get there.
Yeah. Sorry.
So they were discussing after like 9, it would take like a few months in order for it to be like something. Is this like ignoring that, or is this like
After
an exception?
9.
Like I said, like it have to like give it to mature. Like after 9, that would be like a few months. It would
Tuesday. I don't remember a few months after 9. I remember we learned that a 9-year-old could father a child. Yeah. This is now there's a machlekes. What about that?
Whether it was something that like, about the cooking, like whether it had enough time to cook, like for it to be something.
Oh, that was a discussion on yesterday. Yesterday, you said that that although the relations may be considered relations, that doesn't mean that the child she would actually conceive from that. That was a discussion yesterday. Yeah.
So it seems like it doesn't find with this.
No, now we're saying
I'm more like general.
now we're saying that there's a everyone agrees that after 9, the relations is relations, and does that mean that you can father a child? I don't know. Okay, but if you can father a child, then obviously the relations is relations. If relations is a relation, doesn't mean that you can still father a child. It just means to relate, right? So now we're saying everyone agrees that the relations is a relation. How do we know? But this machlekes about in between 8. That's a machlekes. Where do we get this machlekes from? Because before they could father a child, right? So yeah, that doesn't affect if what now is 9 if the relations is a relation.
By the way, this when I looked up about the girl that was like 7 they had, it said in general, boys can't father a child until at least 11, because again of the whole cooking
Right.
rights. Russian kid.
It's now it says Ben Valley Bas, that only a boy could be a Ben Seir Meira. We don't have a girl Ben Seir Meira. Tanya, I thought Bas Seir Meira would say Bas Seirera or Seireris. Oh, how would we switch that? Seirera. Oh my rest.
Sorority.
Sorority. What is sorority?
What?
What does that mean? What does sorority mean?
Sorority is the
It would be
girls'
soreret.
school.
Soreret. Soreret. And what would and what's the next word? Umora? No. Soreret. Umoras? Is that what it means?
Soreret umora.
Umara. Oh, wow. Okay.
Sounds like Spanish. You should add an A behind.
What is the word sorority?
Sorority is the feminine equivalent of fraternity. So it's the women's group typically in the college or something. End
Oh.
up getting in trouble, so it's kind of ironic.
Yeah. Do you hear Dr. Stein's English etymology? Sorority. Okay. Amar Reb Shimon says, Bedin hu shetei bas ru'ya liyos keben sermer. Really, logically, we should have such a concept of a bas sereret umara. Whatever. Why shakol metzinas lebavera? Because what would happen is if she was drunk and eating meat, everyone would be having relations with her. It would be hard for her to keep this up without whatever, committing other crimes and all of that. And so, but the Torah says that no, they don't. This only applies to a man and not to a girl. Okay. When does a Ben Seir or Meira become chayiv? It says Mishiachol tartimar bas. We'll see what the word tartimar means, but he has to eat a certain amount of meat. He has to drink Italian wine.
Half a look.
Half a look of Italian wine. They mean French. Says the French wine people. The Italian people say no, it's the Italian wine. Israeli, California. Rabbi Yossi says mana basar velugyain. He says Rabbi Yossi says double the amount of wine, and we're going to see that it means double the amount of meat as well. Achal b'chaburas mitzvah. Let's say he ate it because it was a fabrengen. Achal b'berchaydesh. It was this party for the month. Achal meiser sheni b'Yerushalayim. It was a mitzvah. He was eating meiser sheni in Yerushalayim. Achal nevel obviously stole it from his parents. That was the rule, right? But he was eating it at one of these events. Achal nevel shecheves katzon masir. He was eating non-kosher food. Achal tevel meiser sheni shlein masir meiser sheni v'hektar shlein nifter were other types of things that wouldn't be considered kosher. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be in here. Achal davar shu mitzvah v'davar shu aveira. If he ate something that's a mitzvah, or he ate something that's aveira, achal kol meichel v'le'achal basar. Or if he ate anything else, but it wasn't meat, he ate, roasted mushrooms, soy burgers. It wasn't really meat. Shasa kol mashke v'le'shasiyayin. He drank other drinks, but it wasn't wine. It has to be meat and wine.
It has to be meat and wine.
Yeah. Hear the who thought what the Ben Sir Marathon? When he's eating it, or
yeah, he's eating it. There's like this amazing wine. It's similar to the woman that makes a vow and then does something with the husband with another fighter, but she didn't know. There she's responsible.
over there she's not responsible. She's guilty, not in court, but she's guilty. She needs an atonement because she intended to do a sin. Here he stole and this is not his issue. This is our issue. He stole wine and he ate it in a certain way. The Beis Din steps in only if they see this criteria. Okay. What his thoughts are, that doesn't matter. He stole it and he's eating it and this. Now the Beis Din, when does the Beis Din step in and put him to death? Only. Even though we don't have a proof that Zel v'seive means meat and wine, but we have a source for it. We have a support for it, rather. Don't be from the wine guzzlers and the gluttonous meat eaters.
So I have a question. All these limitations, this darshaning that is going to come along, which really limit the application of Ben Sora Mora, is this all rabbinic?
Like the rabbis adjusting what the biblical law is.
Well,
the way it would be the drushas would be considered the biblical criteria. This is the way we darshan the psukim to mean this.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I would assume.
That was my question.
We do have sometimes the rabbi stepping in and adjusting biblical law, but we don't say that's like special exceptions. In a typical case, we have the rabbis explaining to us the text based on the 13 levels, which means that it's all biblical. They're just the teachers of that that analysis.
The reason I ask is you look at the top of this daf, with reference to whether this applies to girls.
Right.
And it very simply says Gezeres HaKasuf.
Right.
We don't need a big analysis. So that makes you wonder about everywhere else where this is big analysis. Why didn't they just say, you know?
I don't know. I think what the Gemara means over there is that there's really no reason to differentiate, and maybe even more, there was more of a reason to put the girl to death for what she's for her behavior, because of what concerned what the future is going to bring. But there is a Gezeres HaKasuf that we don't do it. So in other words, in our minds, we would adjust this law, but Torah says not to, so we don't. That's what I think. That's what it's saying. Amar Reb Zera says Tartimar Zaini Yedema. I don't know what this means. Tartimar, this amount of meat. Rabbi Yosi doubled the wine. He probably doubles the meat also. That's a chatzimana. Okay. However much mana is. Amar Rab Chanan bar Mailida. Oh, isn't that an interesting name? Amar Rav Huna. Rav Chanan bar Mailida. Mailida means the one that gave birth. Rav Chanan, the son of his father, Mailida. Yeah, it says in the name of Rav Huna. He's only going to be chayiv if he buys his wine and meat in Costco at a cheap store. He gets a discount on sale. That's how. Where do we get this from? The Ksiv Zoilel v'Soiv. Now the word Zoilel, which we meant to be a glutton, also has the meaning of Zol, which means cheap, on sale. Amar Rav Chanan bar Malida Amar Rav Huna. Another statement from name of Rav Huna. What is that? But everything's cheap, Walmart stuff. Although the price is going up, but that doesn't mean that you don't get it cheaper.
What was the rabbi who to his mother because the father was
that was Mari Barachel.
So maybe this is a similar situation.
No,
then Molida.
That's what I would think. Rashi says Shem Aviv when it says Molida.
No, I'm saying that the father wasn't Jewish, so he's still Jewish.
No, but the word Melida, according to Rashi, is not an adjective. It's not a description. It's his name. The name of the father. The father's name is Melid. I don't know how the father got this.
That's why they gave him that name.
Because
he really wasn't Jewish when he became the father of this rabbi. Just
maybe his. I don't know. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Amar Rav Huna, it says in the name of Rav Huna, it has to be raw meat and undiluted wine. Is that so? Exactly the opposite. You don't become Ben Sermir when it's raw meat. Amar Ravina says, Yayin Chai, Mazig, Falei Mazig. But we mean over here, Yayin Chai, doesn't mean that it's really undiluted. It means that it's partially mixed. Basar Chai, when we say raw meat, we don't really mean raw meat. We mean medium rare. Bashal v'lei bashal. It's cooked but not cooked. Right? It's slightly cooked. Kibasar kiba dachli ganbi. Similar to the meat that the robbers eat when they cook it lightly and because they're on the run. They can't have. But we learned by what was his name, Ben Drasoi, that he had a way of eating his meat after the 1/3 cook. Shabbos, yeah. Why? Because he was always on the run. He couldn't stay in one place. So he quickly had to keep moving. If someone eats salted meat, that means preserved meats, beef jerky, salami, or he drinks wine straight from the barrel, that means that it didn't ferment fully. That you don't become Ben Sermir. Non Hassam, the Gemara challenges this. There's 1 second. Erev Tisha B'Av, We go through this quickly. It says, Erev Tisha B'Av, what we eat before the fast cannot be meat and wine. You can't have two cooked foods. It can't be meat and wine. But meat is only real meat, not salted meats. That's those preserved meats are not considered meat. And wine is only real fermented wine. It's not wine that's straight from the barrel. It's not fermented yet. Until when is it considered salted? How long does it take for the salt to kick in to make it considered preserved? 2 days. That's how long you can eat a shlamim sacrifice, after 2 days. Yain megita ad kama, how long is it considered that it's not fermented fully? Because manchu tastes while it's still bubbling. It would bubble, the fermentation. You see the bubbles coming out of the top. But Tanya, we have a brayse. Yain tastes shmgilek. Yain tastes this wine that's bubbling, that's left overnight. Usually you're concerned that maybe a snake drank from it and dropped some poison into it. You're not concerned about this because even a snake won't touch that. This takes 3 days. Okay, so now we have a source that takes 3 days. But what about by us? How long are we going to measure it for the Ben Sair Mera to eat this? It could be even after over there, it's because we don't want to be joyous. So once it's after 2 days, it's not considered joyous eating that beef jerky. But here it has to do with being drawn to it, that you're going to want it again. It's like the addictive nature. The kolshu leimimshach. And once it goes over even a little bit, it's already not, it's already not addictive. But once it's been salted, even if it's not 2 days. The yayin, how long will the wine take to become addictive like that? And it has to be fine wine, ad mem yaim, till it's 40 days. So it would take 40 days, and not 3 days in the fermentation, but 40 days to have that addictive property. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Wait, before you hang up, hold on. Can they see me? Yes. Don't forget to wear orange. Zecher, the Bibis family, and it should never happen again. All right.
Okay.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay, amen.
Okay, have a good day.